Oil prices have taken a major dip due to COVID noise, but I'm not in the least bit concerned about it. And in the next three videos, you'll know why. And so I want to talk about the effects of this, what's happening in Afghanistan, the Taliban taking over, and how it's going to affect the oil and gas industry, oil prices. And I want to show a video talking about Levin is going to discuss Biden's Afghanistan strategy, how it's a complete disaster. Also, Jeff Currie is going to discuss the oil supply dropping, and also David Tawl heading for an oil crisis. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like this channel, please subscribe. Right now, oil prices trading at $64.40 a barrel for WTI. Brent crude $67.26. Let's take a look at these videos and I'll weigh in on them.
Pakistan has nuclear weapons. You think the Taliban is going to sit quietly and Al-Qaeda is going to sit quietly? You've got Iran on their border now aligning with the Taliban. You've got China that's making alliances with the Taliban. You notice the Russians haven't shut their embassy, so they have some kind of deal going on. India is potentially threatened, our ally. This is a big deal. What Joe Biden has just done is completely changed the geography, completely changed our national security situation. We now have heightened terrorism concerns from the Department of Defense.
So if you look at what's happened in the past, in 9/11, after 9/11, we rolled our tanks in Afghanistan, and what followed was very high oil prices. We hit levels this world has never seen before, okay? And so anytime you have war in the Middle East, especially something of this nature, oil prices increasing follows. Now, what Mark is saying is that, look, why hasn't Russia left? America's running for the hills. Why is America running and Russia staying? Why is Iran having talks with the Taliban? It's pretty simple. They're working together. Now, if you've watched my past videos and if you've read other news articles, you would know that Russia and Iran are working together. Iran uses the Houthi rebels to drop bombs on Saudi Arabia. Okay, and so if Russia and Saudi Arabia, and if Russia, Iran, and the Taliban are working together, it's game over for Saudi Arabia. I mean, they have access to nuclear weapons. They have access to bombs. And it's one more proxy like the Houthi rebels to utilize to control oil prices. It's all about oil. It's all about energy. Now, people are talking about how, well, it's all about the lithium mines. Look, China, nobody's going to invest in infrastructure in Afghanistan. It is unstable. It's a mess. I mean, they don't produce oil and they're sitting on billions of barrels of oil, and they don't produce any oil out there. It is an unstable country. It would take billions and billions of dollars and a huge risk. I mean, you're not going to invest into an oil and gas project or a lithium mining project knowing good and well the instability. You could lose your butt. You got a 50% shot of losing your money in commodities, let alone adding in the layer that the Taliban at any moment could come in there and just take over. Okay. And so I could see Russia using it as another chip to mess with oil prices, to control oil prices, oil price dominance, the same way the Houthi rebels dropping bombs on Saudi oil facilities. And so it's going to get very interesting, but watch as the chess pieces move. And where the next video we're going to watch here is Jeff Currie, and he talks about the oil and gas industry, and I'll weigh in on it.
Is it fair to say that we could be back in what some would call a commodity super cycle, at least when it comes to crude oil? It's been called that in the past. We've seen demand destroyed because of it. What changes this time around? How can it be more constructive for oil prices without it being killed by the fact that high prices will cure high prices?
The other pillar, which I think is critical, is a structural decline in supply due to underinvestment. In oil, and in particular, is severely impacted by this. The case in point, no investment in the U.S. shale patch, no investment in non-OPEC ex-U.S., leaving OPEC really is the only game in town. And so one thing we like to think about this market, it was a demand-driven market over the previous 6 months. Going forward, it's going to be a supply-driven market, and that's structural in nature.
So he's saying that there's a major underinvestment in the oil and gas industry. We're not going to have enough oil in the future. Okay. And so the first 6 months, it was driven by supply and demand. The next 6 months, he's saying it's based upon not having enough oil as the infrastructure falls apart. And so without enough infrastructure, without enough development, without enough investment, we are not going to have enough oil in the future. As demand rises, as the oil and gas industry continues to plunder, we are going to be in a situation where we're not going to have enough supply to meet demand. And so let's listen to Mr. Tawl, David Tawl. He gives us a little more insight as to what's happening.
Well, let's just talk about oil for a second, frankly, which I think is, somewhat on a boost beyond inflation because of the supply-demand imbalance that's going to be there for the short and medium term. Frankly, I don't think the Delta variant is going to slow things down in terms of certainly in the Western world and in developed economies. We will continue to see opening of economies, opening of business, travel, and so forth, productivity rising. And so therefore, there's going to be a strong demand. With respect to oil supply, the rush for the exit doors is getting really serious. BHP Billiton announced that they're out of the oil business. They're selling their asset. Shell has been court ordered to cut their emissions. They're appealing that order. But at the same time, there is a strong and loud rumor that they want to get out of the Permian Basin. The majors are running away from carbon emissions for a number of reasons, and we're going to have, within the next couple of years, I think 3 years to 5 years, we're going to have a serious oil crisis in this world.
In 3 to 5 years, he's saying we're going to have a serious oil crisis in this world for good reason. The policies that the Biden administration is shoving down the throat of the oil and gas industries are so stringent, so strict that they're running away from the oil and gas business. I mean, it's simply sanctions on Americans. It's what we do to Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia, the Taliban. We're doing on our own Americans. And so either way, that it is what it is. And it's going to reduce the oil supply, U.S. oil supply, to ashes. Now, it was U.S. oil supplies that caused oil prices to drop from $150 a barrel down to $30, $40, $50 a barrel. Without U.S. production, we're putting the power into the hands of OPEC, into Russia, into Saudi oil. We are going to be importing oil again like it was in the Bush days. What is Biden thinking? When Trump was in office, when Obama was in office, they focused on shale, the development of U.S. oil and gas, natural resources. And it caused energy prices to drop, gas prices to drop, oil prices to drop. And so now Biden is so focused on this green tech bubble, he's not even thinking about the fact that, hey, demand for energy is increasing and we're just throwing this into the hands of the Middle East and we're making them richer, making China richer by buying their green technology and their lithium. And it's putting us in a situation where energy prices are so high, most people won't be able, well, not most people, but many people won't be able to afford to drive anymore. Oil prices will be upwards of $100 to $150 a barrel, again, like it was in 2008. And so you saw what the administration did regarding Afghanistan. They made a huge mistake. I mean, they left civilians there to die, and they just pulled out their troops and said, see you later. And now the Taliban has taken over. And now we are in a situation here where we're going to have more threats than we've ever seen before. We're back to before 9/11. This is the most unsafest this country has ever been in 20 years. And so, but it's added more volatility to oil and the potential to increase to levels we haven't seen in a long time, greater than we've seen for many years. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. I'm excited about oil prices. It'll be interesting to see what happens here in the next couple months here. If you like this channel, please subscribe. And if you're interested in looking at oil deals, look at my description below and click on the link. I'd love to chat with you. Thanks.